This podcast episode is brought to you by the Canine Cooperative, an exclusive community of dog owners where you can find me live every Monday night at 6:30 p.m. to talk all things dogs. Find us online at vermontdogboardingandbehavior.com/cooperative. Enjoy the show.
Time again for Talking Dogs with Ian Grant, owner of Vermont Dog Boarding and Behavior, VFW Drive High Park. It's the show that delves into the training, socializing, behavior, and nutrition of your dog. And brought to you by Guy's Farm and Yard with locations in Morrisville, Montpelier, Williston, and St. Albans. And we're back with the trainer, Ian Grant. And this week, do you have a dog that jumps on you? Well, if you still do and you've had the dog for a while, then you probably have not been training it. Would that be correct if you still do?
Yeah, that would be correct. And also, too, we have to look at this as this is your dog invading your personal space, too.
Right.
Like, we would never allow a person to just walk up and get into our personal space and not do something about it.
I think we kind of alluded to this topic maybe a few weeks ago, but I'm stunned to the fact that we've never done a whole show on your dog jumping. Boy, how do we get through 5 years and not cover that?
Yeah, especially without any complaints from listeners.
Yeah, that's right. Now people are saying, well, it's about time you got to this subject.
Yeah.
So anyway, why do dogs jump, to be exact?
Well, a lot of times people will look at this and think that we have to address the jumping, when in actuality, jumping is just the symptom of something, which is excitement. So unless a dog is super scared, super fearful that they just want to crawl into your pocket, which that is a very, very rare situation, they are climbing on you because they are excited. So it could be a guest that comes over to your house and your dog immediately jumps on them. Or when you get home from work or something and you get back and you walk in the house and they're jumping all over you. A lot of times I see people, they'll tell me as soon as that happens, I put my dog into a sit and then give them a treat or reward them. To me, that makes zero sense because it's...
Are you rewarding them for the jumping?
Exactly.
Yeah. We've been through this. Yeah.
Yes. You're not going to, if one student thumps another on the face, we're not going to say, sit at your desk, good job. Here's
good job, have a treat.
Yes. I don't know. I can't wrap my head around it. However, if we address the excitement part of things and teach the dog that, you can sit, but I need you to sit with a calm state of mind, that's the direction that we need to go. However, in a situation if it's your dog jumping on you when you get home, we have to look at this and go, okay, how intense is this? Is this just like a little pawing here or there, or is this full on like paws up on the shoulders and, all over you, your front, back, everything? So we always say like 0 to 5, we can just ignore it completely. I wouldn't even talk to the dog. I wouldn't even acknowledge it. I'm going to walk in, put my stuff down.
So if they jump on you, you just put them down and just keep going.
Well, if it's very light and it just it's tolerable, they're not scratching or anything like that, I'm just going to walk through it. Yeah. I'm just going to ignore it because it's not a behavior that I agree with.
But if they're practically tackling you and you can't move into the house.
Yeah. The other thing, too, is there's nothing stopping you from grabbing a leash, which are normally near the door anyways, putting it on your dog and putting him into a sit and dropping the leash and then walking and doing your business. So a lot of times it's funny. I talk to my clients. I'll say, what do you do to disagree with the behavior? I have gotten so many strange looks to that question because people don't understand that it's either one, okay to disagree with your dog, or two, they don't know how to disagree with their dog. So a lot of times you'll hear people say, just turn your back to the dog. Well, you can do that, but every time I've seen somebody do that, the dog walks around and faces the owner again and jumps on them again. So you keep doing circles and you're going to get dizzy doing it. So we have to address the state of mind here. A state of mind is way more important than putting them into an actual physical position because it's not going to change the state of mind at all when we do that. So it can be a tough road, but it can be done.
All right. So there is a remedy to it, but you have to get to it early. I mean, when the early training. I mean, how important is it to get to this really quickly when you have a dog?
Well, there's two things happening. There's excitement, and then there's invading your space. So how would the dog ever know that it's okay to invade my owner's space, but not the guest that walks in the door space? So then it starts to just snowball into, and every human that I meet, I get to crawl all over. So this has to be fixed at home first if we expect it to get fixed elsewhere. So if this is happening now, this has to stop because it's just not normal. When one dog jumps up on another when they first meet, that's a problem, especially if that other dog doesn't care for it at all.
But I can see when we were talking earlier about the giving them the treat, because the owner probably thinks, okay, It's not standing now, it's sitting. So now I'm rewarding him for the sit, but you're not really rewarding him for the sit. That's what makes it so interesting. 'Cause everybody's going to start thinking about, boy, every time I treat the dog, am I doing this right?
Yeah, and especially you can make that dog sit, but you haven't changed the state of mind. He's still excited, so now we're treating an excited dog that's sitting.
It's a temporary fix.
It's a Band-Aid. Yes, it is.
Yeah, there are ways where you can remedy it, but you have to be conscious of why it's happening.
Yes.
But we don't want to dissuade the dog from being excited, though, that you're home, right?
I have no problem with a nice greeting.
Yeah.
No, not at all. I'm not. Yeah. I don't want to take personalities away or anything like that. Like, they can be happy that you're home, but it can't go overboard.
Yeah. Back with our question from the doggy bag in just a moment here on Talking Dogs.
I hope you're enjoying the podcast. I love sharing my experiences with you. I want to remind you that if you are looking for a better understanding of dog behavior or just a well-behaved dog, I have a bunch of free resources on my website. You can find them at vermontdogboardingandbehavior.com/resources. And I've also put a link in the show notes. And now, back to the show.
Back to Talking Dogs with Ian Grant from Vermont Dog Boarding and Behavior, VFW Drive Hyde Park. To find out more about his facility, you can log on to vermontdogboardingandbehavior.com and also click on the podcast, too. The award-winning podcast, yes, you might say. One of the tops in the state of Vermont. Not that we're bragging. All right, we are bragging, as we talked about last week. Our question this morning, Ian, is every time I go to my friend's house, her dog pees when I walk in the door. Is there something I'm doing wrong? Well, not giving a good impression, apparently. Oh, boy, the dog just loves me so much that it decides to pee on the floor. So why do dogs do that?
There's usually one of two things. Either the person represents a lot of excitement, because some dogs just can't hold their pee. It just cuts loose.
Yeah.
It also could be that the dog is so afraid that they can't control it, and then it cuts loose. But then we also look at it and go, okay, I'm guessing this person isn't doing anything wrong when they walk in the door, but we have to make sure that when this person does walk in, that they're ignoring the dog, they're not looking at it, because this dog is super sensitive, whether, again, to the excitement or to the fear. It's really opposite ends of the spectrum when you think about it, but it's the same behavior.
So it's an excitement thing.
It could be, or it could be the fearful thing.
Fearful thing.
Yeah, so it can be tough. But for anybody coming over, number one, you have to walk in the door like the dog doesn't even exist. It's not even there. When my wife and I first met, she had a dog that was like this. So when my sister-in-law would come over and reach down to pet her, it was like, there it goes. Sprinkler goes off.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we got a hold of it by just ignoring her. And also I would put her on leash just to keep her in a sit away from the front door, so she didn't have to feel like she had to run up and greet. And that was over an excitement scenario.
Keeping the dog in another part of the house, you mean, altogether?
I wouldn't say another part of the house, just away from the door. Let's give a lot more space so the dog can get used to the person that's there. And we're not forcing the dog to make a decision or unwanted behavior that we have to clean up. Especially if you have rug, that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, and again, it comes down to also training your guests too, that they have to cooperate too if you want the dog to behave properly.
Yeah, because if you don't speak up for them, no one else will.
That's right. Yeah, and the people get excited about seeing dogs, especially if they don't own one too.
Yes.
So it's the non-dog owners that you have to really deal with.
Yep.
If you have a question for Ian, you can email him directly to info@vermontdogboardingandbehavior.com. Next week, how to introduce yourself to a dog. Hi there. How are you doing today? How was your weekend?
My social security number is.
Yes, exactly. But next week we're going to talk about, and this may be as much for folks who don't own a dog just as much, because sometimes they don't know how to greet a dog properly.
Yeah. So this is for non-dog owners as well as dog owners.
Right. And it's next week on Talking Dogs with Ian Grant, brought to you by Guy's Farm and Yard, with locations in Morrisville, Montpelier, Williston, and St. Albans. And for the trainer Ian Grant, I'm Roland LaJoy, and we are Talking Dogs.